Good morning and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about multilingual language policies and practices in Australia and Hong Kong, and the impact on historical, political and economic development on the language situation in both places. Before we start comparing these two, did you know that there are actually a lot of similarities between both language policies? Hong Kong and Australia are both multilingual societies. However, did you know that English has a very crucial role in both? Hong Kong and Australia were both colonised by the British, which means English plays a significant part in social language patterns. But what would you say the similarities and differences are? Let's take a look at how much we really know.
Chinese and English as well.
Cantonese, probably Chinese.
They have their own dialect, right? I can't remember.
Mandarin, English. Some also speak Mandarin.
Chinese and Chinese.
I'd say it'd be the official.
That is the official language. Yes.
It's the main language.
The English is the major language, but still I think they have got another language. They call it slang.
Australia has an official language as by law, but I think English is the most commonly used language here in Australia.
In the past, education in Hong Kong was comprised of small village Chinese schools which were observed by British missionaries when they arrived during the 1840s. The Chinese who were wealthy did not educate their children in Hong Kong. Instead, they sent them to major Chinese cities such as Canton, where there was better quality and traditional Chinese education. During colonisation in 1841, there were major changes to the education system. In Hong Kong, learning both Chinese and English is required. In most public schools in Hong Kong, Cantonese is the dominant language used and taught with English as a second language. Whilst both languages are taught at school, there are schools within Hong Kong where only English is taught, and this is mainly due to international students and wealth. There is still ongoing debate about the possible changes in regards to current language policies in relation to the education system in Hong Kong. The government believes that every school should have the ability to choose whichever medium of teaching they consider to be the most beneficial for students to cope with.
In Australia, English is the most common speaking language as a result of its history as a penal colony.
However, not all people living in Australia speak English. In 1987, the Australian Federation government adopted a national policy on languages, which is a system of language training that was put into place to provide migrants to access the country. Despite suggestions to make the study of foreign language mandatory for all Australian students, the subject is still only optional, in contrast to many other countries. There is a massive shortage of qualified language teachers. This could be regarded as a result of lack of specific language teacher courses at university. Coupled with this is a lack of network opportunity and development program in Australian schools. Since language teaching is perceived as low value by the government, it is not surprising that students feel discouraged to train to become language teachers. One of the biggest challenges for Australian language education is the general attitude towards language by Australian public, which is the multilingualism and language proficiency are not regarded as crucial part of Australian society.
Signage is a major part of Hong Kong's multicultural society. English is one of the main languages in Hong Kong. Thus, it is essential that all certified signs and notices are projected in both English and Cantonese.
The conditioning of signage from monolingual Chinese to bilingual Chinese-English in Hong Kong's diverse landscape has been a gradual social process. Over the years, bilingualism has continued to be the dominant model of signage in Hong Kong's linguistic landscape. In Hong Kong, the advertising industry is constantly evolving as a multicultural process of globalization. Additionally, all official signs, public displays, and public transport announcements are bilingual, usually in an order of English above the traditional Chinese characters. It has been disputed that the ability to combine different languages or mixtures of languages for effective communication should be a part of the linguistic expertise, which is highly valued in the age of globalization and localization. The comfort with which these languages and dialects coexist reflects the high level of cultural diversity and acceptance of a multilingualism society that exists in Hong Kong.
Along with the education system and importance of signage, the use of laws strongly contributes to Australian and Hong Kong society.
The Hong Kong Special Administrative Region subscribes to a 2 written, 3 spoken language policy. One of the most significant pieces of legislation regarding language in Hong Kong is Article 9 of the Basic Law, which took effect on July 1, 1997. Article 9 states that English may also be used as an official language by the executive authorities, legislature and judiciary of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region. English and Chinese therefore currently both maintain equal official status in the SAR. Note that within Article 9, there is no special recognition or specification of Chinese dialects under the law. However, the de facto standard dialect in the country is Cantonese. Article 5 of the Basic Law, which effectively serves as the region's constitution, declares that the Hong Kong way of life and capitalist system will remain unchanged for 50 years.
It is important to note that China has not indicated what will happen after this lease period, or whether the country will alter, retain or supersede the Basic Law.
Potential legislation changes are significant because, according to Elaine Chan, English serves to distinguish Hong Kong people from mainland Chinese and PRC socialist principles. The Official Languages Ordinance, decreed in 1974, declares Chinese and English the official languages of Hong Kong for the purposes of communication between the government and the public. The ordinance requires all new legislation to be communicated bilingually. This ordinance also does not specify a preferred Chinese dialect, and where questions arise, the English version of the legislation is deemed superior in interpretation. Prior to 1974, when the OLO was enacted, there was no existing law classifying any official languages specific to Hong Kong. Due to the change in the status of English from a colonial language forced upon the people of Hong Kong to an international language that plays a significant role in business and the economy, the attitudes and relationship people have with English has changed. Over 44.7% of citizens could speak English in 2006. Compared to 38.1% in 1996, before the handover to the PRC. Due to this increase in English literacy and proficiency, loanwords, mixed code and code switching commonly occur in the speech of Hong Kong natives. Did you know that according to the 2016 census, English is the only language spoken in the home for nearly 73% of the Australian population? This means that although Australia recognises no official language, English serves as the de facto standard across the country. In 2017, the state of New South Wales passed the New South Wales Aboriginal Languages Act in order to revive Indigenous languages. It became law on October 24, 2017, and states the intention of the Act is to promote, reawaken, nurture and grow Aboriginal languages across New South Wales.
It is the first piece of legislation in Australia to acknowledge the significance of first languages.
Hong Kong and Australia are different in how they utilise their language, though they have roots to a shared English colonial past. But it is perhaps this strong foothold by Hong Kong on English taken during this 156-year period that has allowed for an evolved, unique, character-giving multilingualism along with Cantonese and Chinese, which is visible in the street, in the business arena, and in education, Cantonese and English now compulsory in schools, by implementation of language policy planning at government level, which all can provide a clear contrast for Australia, insight for a nation where views are still mixed, where language teachers are in short supply, where it's difficult to find any policy, for example, regarding signage, and whose multilingual society takes second place to one dominated politically and socially by just one de facto national standard language.